First Contact and Revelation. The anomaly appeared on SETI's Deep Space Monitoring arrays at 3:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. At first, the technicians thought it was a glitch. The sudden emergence of 27 massive objects decelerating from what appeared to be faster than light travel shouldn't be possible according to current physics. By dawn, every major observatory on Earth confirmed the impossible. A fleet of extraterrestrial vessels had entered the solar system and was on a direct course for Earth. Dr. Elena Reyes stared at the holographic projection in the Pentagon's Crisis Center, her dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of 27 red dots approaching Earth. As the United Nations lead xenobiologist, she had spent her career preparing for first contact. Now that it was happening, the knot in her stomach told her this wasn't going to unfold like any of the thousands of simulations they'd run. "They're slowing down," announced General Williams, pointing to the tactical display. "Current trajectory puts them in Earth orbit in approximately 72 hours. President Alvarez nodded grimly. "And our options?" "Limited," the general replied. "Our most advanced weapon systems would be like throwing rocks at a battleship, if they're hostile." The room fell silent until Elena spoke up. "We need to attempt communication before they reach orbit. If they've come this far, they must want something from us." The president nodded. "Do it." 30 hours later, the reply came. Every screen on Earth simultaneously displayed the same message, translated into all major languages. "People of Earth, we come as friends. We are the Galactic Council, a federation of 1,327 sentient species. We wish to speak with your leaders." The first meeting took place in the United Nations headquarters in New York. The council sent 3 representatives who looked surprisingly humanoid, tall, slender beings with iridescent blue skin and large, multifaceted eyes. Their leader, who called himself Ambassador Tyrox, spoke with a melodic, almost hypnotic voice. "Your world is unique in all our travels," Tyrox explained, his long fingers gesturing gracefully. "We have monitored your development for centuries. You possess something extremely valuable." "And what might that be?" President Alvarez asked, her voice steady despite the tension. "Life," Tyrox replied. "The biodiversity of Earth is unparalleled. Your planet contains biological compounds found nowhere else in the known galaxy." Elena watched the aliens' micro-expressions. Despite their different physiology, she'd been trained to identify universal signs of deception across species. Something wasn't adding up. "And you've come to study our biology?" Elena asked. Tyrox's large eyes focused on her. "In part, we also offer an exchange. The Council can provide advanced technology, medicine, clean energy solutions. We ask only for samples and access to study your world's unique biochemistry." The negotiations continued for days. Council scientists set up research stations in the Amazon rainforest, the deep ocean trenches, and other biodiversity hotspots. They collected samples, analyzed DNA, and mapped Earth's biosphere with technology centuries beyond humanity's capabilities. One night, while reviewing data from the alien research stations, Elena noticed a pattern. "They're not just studying," she murmured to herself. "They're searching for something specific." Using her clearance, she accessed the secure terminal in her lab and cross-referenced the Council's research focus areas. Every sample they collected contained similar enzyme structures, ones associated with cellular regeneration and immunity. A week later, Elena was granted access to one of the Council's research vessels to observe their work. While the aliens were distracted, she managed to copy a portion of their database onto a quantum storage device no larger than her thumbnail. Back in her lab, working through the night, she decrypted the alien data. What she found chilled her to the bone. "They're dying," she whispered to the empty room. The next morning, she requested an emergency meeting with President Alvarez and the Joint Chiefs. The room was sealed, swept for surveillance, and placed under the highest security protocols. "The Council isn't being honest about why they're here," Elena began, her voice grim. They're facing extinction. A biological agent they call the dissolution is spreading through their worlds, breaking down the cellular structure of all organic life forms. They've lost 17 planets already with billions of casualties. General Williams leaned forward. And Earth contains the biological compounds they need to create a cure, Elena continued. But there's more. She took a deep breath. According to their data, they would need to harvest approximately 60% of Earth's biomass to produce enough of the cure to save their civilization. The silence in the room was deafening. They want to strip our planet to save themselves, President Alvarez finally said. What happens to us? Their models indicate that human civilization would collapse. They estimate Earth's carrying capacity would be reduced to support no more than 2 billion humans after their extraction process. 5 billion people would die, General Williams said flatly. They've done this before, Elena added. I found references to other worlds they've harvested. They call it the necessary sacrifice. The president's face hardened. Have they made this request formally? Not yet. I believe they're still assessing our world's resources and our capabilities to resist. 3 days later, Ambassador Tyrox requested a special session with the United Nations Security Council. The meeting was broadcast globally. Friends of Earth, Tyrox began, his melodious voice solemn. We have not been entirely forthcoming about our purpose here. He explained the dissolution, the billions who had already died, and the trillions more who would perish without Earth's help. He spoke of the difficult choice the Council had made. We require a significant portion of your world's biological matter to synthesize the cure. We understand the sacrifice we ask is enormous. In return, we offer to evacuate 1 billion humans to sanctuary worlds. The Council will provide new homes, technology, and a future among the stars. The world erupted in panic. Riots broke out in major cities. Religious leaders proclaimed the end times. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. In the Pentagon Crisis Center, President Alvarez turned to General Williams. How long would it take to deploy our nuclear arsenal? The general shook his head. Their ships have energy shields that could likely withstand everything we throw at them. And even if we could damage them, there are 27 vessels. We'd need to hit them all simultaneously. So we have no options, the president said, her voice hollow. Actually, came a new voice from the doorway. We might have one. Everyone turned to see Commander Marcus Chen, head of the United States Space Force's Strategic Operations Division. Madam President, he said, it's time you learned about Project Icarus, the hidden project. The facility beneath the Cheyenne Mountain complex had officially never existed. On no blueprint, no budget line, no official document was there any mention of the 10 subterranean levels that Commander Marcus Chen's keycard now granted them access to. President Alvarez walked silently alongside him, with Dr. Elena Reyes and a select group of military leaders following behind. The elevator descended for what felt like minutes. Project Icarus began 60 years ago, Commander Chen explained as they descended. After the Roswell incident. Roswell was real, General Williams asked incredulously. Not in the way the public thinks, Chen replied. What crashed wasn't an alien ship, it was a probe, a self-replicating von Neumann probe designed to gather information. We reverse-engineered what we could, but more importantly, we learned we weren't alone, and we might not be welcome. The elevator doors opened to reveal a vast underground complex humming with activity. Scientists and military personnel moved purposefully between workstations displaying holographic star charts, technical schematics, and what appeared to be alien language translations. Welcome to Icarus Command, Chen said, the heart of humanity's insurance policy. For the next hour, Chen led them through the facility, explaining how, for decades, a black-budget operation involving the world's top scientific minds had been preparing for first contact, particularly if that contact proved hostile. We couldn't match potential alien technology directly, Chen explained, leading them into a massive hangar where engineers worked on sleek, dark vessels unlike any terrestrial craft. So we focused on stealth, mobility, and dispersal. Dispersal? Elena asked. Humans are remarkably adaptable. Doctor, Chen replied with a slight smile. We don't need perfect conditions to survive, just adequate ones. He brought them to a holographic display of the solar system, then expanded it to show nearby star systems. Scattered throughout were pulsing blue dots. Colonies, President Alvarez breathed, understanding dawning on her face. Chen nodded. 73 self-sustaining human settlements across 27 star systems. The nearest is Mars, of course, though we've kept that small to avoid detection. The farthest is nearly 40 light-years away. How many people? General Williams asked. Currently, approximately 3 million, with infrastructure to support rapid expansion. Each colony was seeded with genetic banks containing samples from millions of Earth species, including humans, our contingency for extinction-level events. President Alvarez stared at the display. All this time, how was this kept secret? Compartmentalization. Multiple countries contributing resources without knowing the full scope. And necessity, Chen replied simply. The public wasn't ready, but the people who needed to know knew. Every president since Eisenhower has been briefed on a need-to-know basis. And now we need to know. Elena said, her mind racing with implications. Because the Council is about to strip mine our planet. Precisely, Chen confirmed. But there's more. He led them to another section of the facility where a team of scientists worked around what appeared to be alien technology. We didn't just build colonies. We've been preparing defenses. He gestured to a sleek silver device the size of a coffee table. This is a prototype of what we call a phase disruptor. It creates a localized field that prevents faster-than-light particles from maintaining coherence. In English, Commander, the President requested. It disables their drive systems and weapons, Chen explained. We've been developing it based on the technology from the Roswell probe. It's untested against actual alien ships, but the principles should be sound. How many do we have? General Williams asked. 12 operational units. Each colony has fabrication capabilities to produce more. President Alvarez walked slowly around the room, taking everything in. So you're telling me that while the Council thinks they're dealing with a single vulnerable planet, we actually have dozens of self-sufficient colonies hidden throughout nearby space, all with advanced technology? Yes, Madam President. And more importantly, they don't know we know about their true intentions. You've been waiting for this moment, Elena realized, looking at Chen. The commander's expression remained neutral. We've been preparing for it. There's a difference. Back in the briefing room, they formulated their response to the Council's demands. News had just arrived that Ambassador Tyrox had issued a formal ultimatum. Earth had 7 days to accept the Council's terms, or they would begin harvesting operations by force. They think we're desperate and divided, Chen said. We need to maintain that illusion while we position our assets. You're suggesting we stall, the President said. Exactly. Request more information, ask for demonstrations of their technology, demand concessions, anything to buy time. Elena studied the schematics of the Council ships. Their biology is vulnerable to certain radiation frequencies we discovered in their medical data. If we could deploy that alongside the phase disruptors, we'd have a chance, General Williams finished. A slim one, but a chance. What about evacuation? Asked the Secretary of Defense. We should move as many people off-planet as possible. Too visible, Chen responded. The Council is monitoring all space activity, but we have ships waiting in concealed lunar bases. If things go south, we can evacuate key personnel and resources. President Alvarez stood, her decision made. Commander Chen, you have full authority to coordinate our response. Dr. Reyes, work with the science team to develop any biological countermeasures possible. I'll handle the diplomacy and buy us time. She looked around at the determined faces. The Council thinks they're dealing with a primitive species backed into a corner. Let's show them how dangerous cornered primates can be. Over the next 5 days, as the world teetered on the edge of panic, Project Icarus activated. Hidden communications reached the colonies. Stealth ships deployed from lunar bases, positioning phase disruptors at strategic points throughout Earth orbit. Elena and her team worked around the clock, developing a targeted biological agent that would affect the Council species without harming Earth's ecosystem. Ambassador Tyrox grew increasingly impatient with Earth's delaying tactics. "You cannot avoid the inevitable," he told President Alvarez during their third negotiation session. "The Council requires your world's resources. Resistance will only increase suffering." "We need more time to prepare our people," the President responded calmly. "Moving 1 billion humans to your sanctuary worlds is no small task." "You mistake our patience for flexibility," Tyrox warned. "The harvest will begin in 48 hours, with or without your cooperation." That night, in the Icarus Command Center, Elena presented her findings to the War Council. "Their species has no natural defense against certain terrestrial fungi. I've modified a strain that will attack their cellular structure but remain harmless to Earth life. The problem is delivery." "I think I can help with that," Chen said, displaying schematics of the Council's environmental systems. "Their ships recycle air. If we introduce the agent into one vessel's system, it would spread throughout their fleet." Elena finished. President Alvarez studied the plan. "This is biological warfare. Are we certain there's no diplomatic solution?" General Williams spoke up. "Madam President, they intend to reduce Earth's population by 5 billion people. I'd say diplomacy has failed." The President nodded grimly. "Proceed with Operation Phoenix. God help us all." Humanity's answer. The Council flagship hung in low Earth orbit, a massive silver structure 16 kilometers long that gleamed in the sunlight. Ambassador Tyrox stood on the observation deck, watching the blue planet below with his multifaceted eyes. Behind him, the Council's Harvester Directorate waited silently. "Their time expires in 6 hours, Tyrox announced. "Are the extraction vessels prepared?" "Yes, Ambassador," replied Harvester Prime, a tall figure in ceremonial armor. "The first wave will target their oceanic biomass. Minimal resistance is expected." "These humans are unpredictable," Tyrox cautioned. "Their communication networks indicate widespread panic, but their military forces have been suspiciously quiet." "Our scans show no significant orbital defenses," Harvester Prime replied dismissively. "Their most advanced weapons cannot penetrate our shields. The outcome is inevitable." Tyrox was not so certain. Something about these humans troubled him: their adaptability, their tenacity. In the Council's long history of harvesting operations, they had never encountered a species with such contradictory traits. Technologically primitive yet remarkably ingenious. Physically unimpressive yet capable of surviving in nearly any environment. Seemingly fragmented politically yet able to unite rapidly when threatened. His concerns were interrupted by an alert from the bridge. "Ambassador, we're detecting a small vessel approaching from the lunar surface. It's broadcasting a diplomatic identification signal." "Bring it aboard," Tyrox ordered. Perhaps they finally accepted reality. In Icarus Command beneath Cheyenne Mountain, President Alvarez watched the operation unfold on the holographic display. The small diplomatic shuttle, officially carrying the human negotiation team, was in reality piloted by 2 of Commander Chen's most elite operatives, with Dr. Elena Rice accompanying them. "Phase 1 initiated," reported the communications officer. "Shuttle approaching Council flagship." Chen stood beside the President, his posture rigid. "The phase disruptors are in position. Colonial fleet is standing by at the rendezvous coordinates." "And if this fails?" Alvarez asked quietly. Chen's expression remained impassive. "Then colonies Alpha through Gamma will execute Protocol Omega, a coordinated strike on all Council vessels using their full arsenal." "That would still leave their homeworlds," the President noted. "Yes," Chen agreed, "but it would buy Earth time." Aboard the Council flagship, Alina followed the alien escort through gleaming corridors. The fungal agent was contained in a hidden compartment of her diplomatic tablet, engineered to disperse through the ship's ventilation system once activated. Ambassador Tyrox waited in a vast chamber designed to intimidate, 50 meters high with walls displaying images of thousands of worlds under council control. Dr. Reyes, Tyrox greeted her. I had expected your president. She sends her regrets, Alina replied evenly. I've been authorized to present Earth's formal response to your proposal. Tyrox gestured to a floating platform at the center of the room. Please proceed. Alina stepped onto the platform, which rose slightly. She opened her tablet and pretended to review documents while subtly activating the hidden mechanism. Ambassador Tyrox, representatives of the Galactic Council, she began formally. After careful consideration, Earth wishes to propose a counteroffer. Tyrox's head tilted slightly in surprise. A counteroffer? The Council's position is non-negotiable. Nevertheless, we believe you'll want to hear this. Alina continued, stalling for time as the hidden device silently released microscopic spores into the air. Earth is prepared to provide the biological compounds you need, but through sustainable harvesting rather than mass extraction. Tyrox made a dismissive gesture. Insufficient. The quantities required cannot be obtained without the methods we've outlined. Actually, came a new voice from the chamber entrance. That's not entirely accurate. All eyes turned to see Commander Chen walking confidently into the room, flanked by two officers. Tyrox's guards moved forward, but the ambassador waved them back. Commander Chen, Alina said with convincing surprise, what are you doing here? Delivering a message, Chen replied, then turned to Tyrox. You believe you're dealing with a single world, isolated and defenseless. You're not. Tyrox's eyes narrowed. Explain yourself, human. Chen activated a holographic projector of his own. The image showed dozens of human colonies spread across neighboring star systems. Humanity left Earth's cradle long ago. Ambassador, we've established self-sustaining settlements throughout this sector of space. Settlements with defensive capabilities equal to your own. Tyrox stared at the display, his composure finally breaking. Impossible. Our surveys detected no such colonies. We've had decades to perfect stealth technology, Chen replied. Turns out the same principles that make a submarine invisible in Earth's oceans work rather well in space. At that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the flagship. A council officer rushed in. Ambassador, multiple unknown vessels have appeared throughout the system. They've activated some kind of field that's destabilizing our dry systems. Tyrox turned to Chen, anger replacing shock. This is treachery. This is survival, Chen corrected. And speaking of survival, you might want to have your medical teams check your air filtration systems. They've been compromised. Understanding dawned on Tyrox's alien features as he looked at Alina. Several council members were already beginning to show signs of respiratory distress. What have you done? Tyrox demanded. Introduced a modified fungal strain that specifically targets your species' biology, Alina explained. Don't worry, it's not lethal, just extremely unpleasant. We have the antidote, of course. The terms of negotiation have changed, Chen continued. Your ships are disabled. Your crews are becoming incapacitated. And at this moment, 217 human vessels are surrounding your fleet. The holographic display updated to show a massive human armada emerging from concealed positions throughout the solar system. Ships unlike anything in Earth's publicly known arsenal. Now, President Alvarez said, stepping into the chamber. She had arrived on a separate stealth shuttle, while attention was focused on Chen and Alina. Let's discuss a genuine partnership that doesn't involve decimating my planet. 6 hours later, in the same chamber, a new agreement was signed. The Council would receive access to Earth's biological compounds, but through sustainable harvesting methods developed jointly by human and Council scientists. In exchange, Earth would gain full membership in the Galactic Council, with all the protections and benefits that entailed. You could have destroyed us, Tyrox said quietly to President Alvarez after the formal ceremony. That was never our intention, she replied. Humanity doesn't seek conquest, Ambassador. We seek survival and understanding. You mistook our divided politics for weakness, our technological limitations for primitiveness. A mistake the Council will not make again, Tyrox acknowledged. Your hidden colonies, your adaptive strategies, they are impressive. Necessary, Alvarez corrected. When you live on a planet with thousands of potential extinction events, asteroids, supervolcanoes, pandemics, you learn to plan for contingencies. As the Council fleet departed Earth orbit 3 days later, now escorted by human vessels, Commander Chen stood with Elena in the Icarus Command Center, watching the displays. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? Elena asked. Chen shrugged slightly. They don't have much choice. We've demonstrated we can disable their ships and affect their biology. Besides, a sustainable solution benefits everyone. And Project Icarus? She inquired. Now that the secret's out. Now it becomes Project Phoenix, Chen replied. A new beginning. Humanity united, reaching for the stars openly instead of in secret. He paused. Though we'll keep a few surprises in reserve, just in case. On view screens across Earth, President Alvarez addressed a planet still coming to terms with everything that had happened. The threat of extinction, the revelation of secret space colonies, and humanity's new place in the galactic community. Today marks a new chapter in human history, she said. For generations, we looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now we know the galaxy is filled with life, some friendly, some not. But we've earned our place among those stars through courage, ingenuity, and foresight. She paused, her expression solemn. The road ahead will not be easy. Integration with the Galactic Council brings both opportunities and challenges, but we face them not as a primitive species grateful for admission, but as equals who have proven our worth. In orbit above Earth, the last Council vessel prepared for departure. Ambassador Tyrox sent a final private message to the Galactic Council High Command. Reassessment of Species 3721. Humans, strongly advised. Previous classification as pre-emerging/exploitable was gravely inaccurate. Recommend immediate reclassification as apex adaptive/handle with extreme caution. These humans had prepared for us long before we arrived, and they were ready with multiple contingencies we never detected. The most dangerous species are not those with the most advanced weapons, but those who can outthink you before the battle even begins. As Earth grew smaller in the vessel's view screen, Tyrox reflected on the Council's miscalculation. They had approached humanity with the arrogance of technological superiority, only to discover that technology alone did not determine the outcome of conflicts. Adaptability, foresight, and the fierce will to survive. These were the traits that truly mattered in the cosmic struggle for existence. And in those traits, humanity had already proven itself a force to be reckoned with.